time to duel. All right, looks like the players are drawing their hands. I can't wait to see who's going to go first. Both these decks are awesome. I love Tearlaments. I love Mannadium. They both put up impressive boards, but we're going to have to see how it plays out. It looks like Steven is going to be on the play and going first, leading with Peaceful Planet Calarium.
So the first of many planets that he may be visiting. This is the one that he's maxed out 3 copies of, unlike some of the others where he has only 1 or 2 copies. So this is the one that he's more likely to visit.
Definitely. It's going to be able to access the Mannadium engine. The best part about all of the field spells minus Pressure Planet Race Off is they can also add Visa Starfrost. So if you draw multiple of the different kinds, you can get, you're going to want to get Mannadium Reamheart, Rykart, and Visa Starfrost, but he does have that Visa Samsara, so this is a cool start with the Samsara and the Reamheart in hand. Taking a moment to read it. Doesn't do anything on the field except become that Visa Starfrost, but that is a key factor in this Visa Samsara. This level 4 Fairy Tuner out of Age of Overlord. Since it's Visa Starfrost, he's going to be able to link it away for Scareclaw Lightheart.
And this will allow him to search a copy of Primeval Planet Reichphobia.
Yep, and that is going to access the Scareclaw engine. Now, the big part about this, since he already has the Peaceful Planet on the field, he's going to want to get the Meek engine going on before he activates that Reichphobia, because he wants to be able to use that Peaceful Planet once the Meek is destroyed to special it back, but it looks like with the way his hand drew, he's not going to have that luxury.
Looks like he's going to have to rely on the Scareclaw portion of the deck and to maybe bridge into the Mannadium section of the deck.
Yeah, he won't be able to access that special summon back the tuner from the graveyard this turn since he won't be able to activate another Peaceful Planet, but the Reichphobia being able to go after Rykart is huge here. Because Rykart has the cool effect, it can special summon itself to any zone that is adjacent to another Scareclaw monster, including the Lightheart. Now, he's not going to get that bonus effect to draw a card when you have 3 more monsters on the field in defense mode, but he is going to access Scareclaw Arrival. Now, Scareclaw Arrival, not only can it special summon a Scareclaw from the graveyard, it can also special summon Visa Starfrost from the graveyard. It's a great way to go into level 10s, but that Visa Samsara, unlike the Visa Synchro, still counts as Visa Starfrost in the graveyard. So if he wants to go into a level 8 Synchro play, he could do that right here, but he's going to first activate Reamheart. It's going to be a quick effect that he can target a monster with the heart stats. So it's going to be a monster with 1500 attack, 2100 defense, destroy it, and special summon it from his hand. And on summon, he'll be able to add a Mannadium card from his deck to the hand. Usually Mannadium Meek.
What we see here is, unlike last round, when Hani was playing this deck, we saw him draw cards like Scareclaw Arrival, and in addition to that, Reichphobia, 2 cards that are most ideally searched out through the first turn combo. And we see here, instead, Steven has been able to search those through his combo, which means his hand is going to be filled with more extenders, more gas, and potentially an ability to put up a much higher ceiling opening play.
Yeah, definitely. They're kind of the cards you want to add from your deck hand. You don't really want to see them in your opening hand, but he's going to synchro the level 2 Mannadium Meek with that level 4 Rykart for the new level 6 Mannadium Trisukta. Trisukta, when it's summoned, is going to be able to special summon back a level 2 tuner to the field.
And it is a level 6 tuner in and of itself.
Yep.
So you're not able to go into a traditional level 8 Synchro play from here.
Yeah, nothing traditional, but there's nothing traditional about Vsauce. I'm going to try and say it right, Amritara. I always got to say it slowly, but he's not going to go into that just quite yet. He's going to use that Arrival to bring back the Scareclaw Rykart. So he has a level 4 non-tuner, a level 6 tuner, so he's going to go into a level 10. It's a light and a dark. He could go into Chaos Angel initially, or he can go straight into Baron de Fleur, and it looks like Baron de Fleur is going to be the first one that comes out. Now he has the Heart Monster stat and the Visa Samsara in his graveyard. He has the Meek on the field. He could banish those 2 monsters from the graveyard to summon Vicious Astrolaud. We'll have to see. And losing that Peaceful Planet early does kind of hurt because he's not going to be able to get 2 Meeks on the field at the same time. But luckily with things like Cross Sheep, he's still going to be able to summon back the Meek. And when he summons Vicious Astrolaud, but if he had the Peaceful Planet on the field, he could use Vicious Astrolaud or Baron de Fleur to destroy the Meek, to special summon back the Meek from the graveyard and 1 from the deck. But that's not going to be the case here. He's going to be banishing those 2 monsters from the graveyard. Vicious Astrolaud is going to come down to that zone that Cross Sheep is pointing to, and then Cross Sheep's going to activate. Since there's a Synchro and a Fusion, all his monsters are going to gain 700 attack. Then he's going to special summon back a level 4 or lower monster, and that's going to be the Mannadium Meek. Now, he could still use the Baron here to destroy the Meek, because the Meek comes back from the graveyard as level 2 tuner, but that's not what he wants. He wants a level 4 tuner, so he can synchro with that level 4 and the level 8 for a Crimson Dragon, so he's going to be able to try and cheat out Bestial Dispatter.
The ability to fluctuate levels in this deck is huge.
Definitely is. Crimson Dragon, beautiful out of Duelist Nexus. It was a giant card here for Attack of the Giant card this weekend. And Bestial Dispatter is going to come out. Normally it needs a dragon to be summoned, but luckily Crimson Dragon is just going to summon a monster the same level of the target and return itself to the extra deck. So he's going to bring back that Visa Samsara. This is really, you're asking about Visa Samsara and the impact it makes. Normally for any kind of combo like this, you needed to have Visa Starfrost, but he didn't need to have it here since he just opened up with that Samsara. It can replace it. Even though it's not a level 6 tuner, you can still do a lot with being a level 4, as you can see.
It's really great to see Crimson Dragon used on Steven's turn. I feel like traditionally people have been using Crimson Dragon to cheat Calamities into play on the opponent's turn. But here we actually see how Crimson Dragon can be used to put monsters like Dispatter on the field, which, as you mentioned, might not be something this deck would traditionally be able to access with its monsters generate.
Certainly, it's one of my favorite parts of Crimson Dragon as well. Now, since he has Visa Samstar on the field, it counts as Visa Starfrost. He can, once per duel, you can special summon back that Scareclaw Lightheart to the field. So now he's going to be able to synchro again, it's looking like. He might be looking for something like Appaloosa later on if he does include it into his deck, since he has the Cross Sheep and the Lightheart. But that's going to be a 4-star and a 4-star, so he can special summon Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. On summon, that's going to bring back the Meek. Now, where does he go next? Is he going to look for another level 10? So level 10, you don't want to make Chaos Angel really with Meek, since it is a water monster, so you won't get those bonus effects. So usually you're looking to make something like Chang'e, the Sword Soul level 10 Synchro.
It's really amazing. It's almost like a level 10 control deck at the end of it.
My favorite combo is to put up 4 level 10 Synchros, SP Little Knight, set reframing. I don't think Steven has the reframing in his main deck, and now they're going to link away the Lightheart and the Meek for SP Little Knight. So he's going to use SP Little Knight. This is a cool effect. So I always talked about playing 3 Vicious Astrolabe, but you don't have to play 3 Vicious Astrolabe because you can always banish it with SP Little Knight here, and you're going to be able to return it back to the extra deck later on.
That's a really fantastic play.
With Bestial Dispatter. It's really awesome. Yeah. Yes, it's super awesome. I really like this play. Steven, not going for as explosive of a board as Mannadium can open up with, but he's going for where he's going to have some follow-up, has another Vicious Astrolabe he's going to be able to summon. But he's going to leave that Cross Sheep, SP Little Knight up. Baron to floor. The Excel, if he plays Stardust Dragon, also has the effect it contributes itself in quick synchro during the opponent's turn.
What's interesting is I feel like Paulo is traditionally known as a player that likes to stop this from happening in the first place with the 15, 20, sometimes even more hand interruptions that he's typically playing. He had 0. So now the question is, now that the board is established and there's these multiple layers of interaction, what can Paulo muster with his Tearlaments strategy? Yeah,
he's going to need something. He's going to want to probably start with a field spell. He's going to have to work through that Baron and the Dispatter. The cool thing about the interaction with SP Little Knight and Bestial Dispatter, if he's able to use the SP Little Knight to banish a monster from his opponent's side of the field, then he can shuffle back that monster with the Dispatter and negate a card. So he is going to start off with the Primeval Planet Pellerino.
Which is an ideal opening.
Better to have it than not, for sure. He's going to be able to add a copy of any Tearlament monster from his deck to his hand, or Visa Starfrost.
Steven's deck incorporates a lot of quick plays that are good going second, but can also act as defensive cards as well. So although he has 2 spell and trap card set, in a deck that's so combo-centric, you might look at those as either bluffs. In this case, those could be very easily cards like Forbidden Droplet or Enemy Controller, which add even another layer of interaction that Paul is going to have to work through this turn.
Definitely. I'm glad you brought up Forbidden Droplet, because now that Kashira Riceheart is out of the meta, onto the Forbidden list, playing Droplet in the Mannadium deck has really changed the things for the deck, because it really struggled at going second, and you really couldn't include stuff like Droplet because of Riceheart. But now that you can play it in the deck again, it's really fantastic. So it'd be awesome to see if he has that set there. But Paul's going to follow up the ad with activating Tearlaments Scream. Now he's going to try and use that Tearlaments Shiren from hand.
Just destroys, right? Yep.
And that looks like Steven is going to chain the Bestial Dispatter to shuffle back his Vicious Astrolabe to the extra deck and destroy the Shiren from the hand.
So this was that interaction that you said last turn where you ideally want to have access to 3 Astrolabes during the course of the game, but you can banish one just incidentally on the opening turn with SP Little Knight and now return it back to the extra deck, and essentially now you have 3 copies.
It's awesome. That was like my question to all the Mannadium players at the beginning of the weekend is like, how many Vicious Astrolabe are you playing? Because I've been playing 3, but then I found out about this play. I'm like, oh, because you might have some new extra deck space when you need to fit in stuff like SP Little Knight and Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. So I really like that. And it looks like since the Shiren was destroyed, he is going to activate the effect to return Shiren and Shadal Beast from the hand for a fusion summon. So he's going to be able to trigger the Primeval Planet Pellerino to destroy a card. Let's see what he decides to summon with the Shadal Beast. Is it Mud Dragon? Yep, 2 monsters of the same attribute, different types.
That was probably the card that he was going to send with the Shiren to the graveyard.
That would have been nice. He would have sent 6 cards on the top of the deck and got that draw, but Steven knew to negate that.
Yeah.
What were your fusion materials?
I used Beast, Shadow Beast.
Spellcaster. It's a good. It's legal.
All right. Yep, Mud Dragon was a legal summon there. Now he's going to.
Okay, so this dies.
Yep.
So it looks like he activated the effect of Pellerino, and it's been negated by Baron to floor.
He's negating the effect of the Pellerino. Nice, nice.
I'll continue thinking.
It's good to know that Baron can negate effects, not just the activation of the cards. Keep that in mind. You want to always read your cards and make sure that if they negate the activation of the cards or the activation and effects of cards.
1, 2.
So here's Reinhardt and Scream. He's able to sequence his chains so that Scream will resolve his chain link 2.
Yep, going to send 3 cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard, and then he'll be able to send a Tearlament monster. He also gets to hide the Reinhardt behind the Scream, which is important. Let's see if this prompts any response here from Steven. Let's it go. If there is a deck that can push through all the Mannadium stuff, it will be this Tearlament strategy, depending on how these cards are. That was pretty good. What do we just see, Joe?
We just saw, it looks like one of the traps, I believe it was a copy of Sulliek, and it looks like a Havness, which means in the aftermath of the resolution of Reinhardt, Paulo's going to have 3 different effects. He's going to have 2 fusion effects and a trap effect that he's able to align in the way that is necessary to try and push through.
So you're telling me Paulo Havness a chance in this duel? He Havness this chance, and I hope he takes it. Let's go.
Sometimes it's hard to know where you're going, Billy.
I know. I'm not. It's a road to nowhere, Joe. Don't follow me down this road. All right, so it looks like that Reinhardt is going to resolve. He's going to send that Merly as you called it. So now he's going to have the option to make 2 more fusion summons. This will be all 3 Tearlament names being used this turn, since he already used the fusion effect of Sharon.
Although they're all limited to 1. It seems like every time I watch Tearlaments, they're still able to fusion summon 3 times.
1 is a big number, apparently. When you're constantly being able to access so many cards in your deck, it doesn't really matter. I feel bad for all my Master Duel players out there. Rest in peace, Merly. Merly didn't deserve it. Kiktalos was the one that needed to go.
Still at the Sprint.
Yeah, I love me some Sprite Sprint. So right now, Paulo looking to activate all of his effects here. He's going to just use 1 of the fusion effects, putting back the 2 Tearlament names. Maybe he's going to be able to go into something like Garura. So he didn't use 1 of them, probably the Merly.
That would make the most sense because he wants to be able to use Sprint later in the turn.
Definitely, and having these 2 level 4 water monsters on the field is already going to give Paulo some options. The Garura gives him even more options.
And double checking the defense of Dispatter.
It's huge. It's like 3,500. I think all of, and the best thing about them all 3 being in defense mode, so with this Prime Planet Rhyphobia on the field, all of Paulo's monsters are losing 100 attack and defense for every monster on the field in defense mode. And if at the start of Steven's turn, if he still has a face-up on the field, once per turn, you can just destroy a card on your opponent's side of the field as long as there are 3 monsters in defense mode on the field.
Just one of the additional ways that Steven's deck can play going second.
Definitely. It's still scary.
And it's important that Paulo is just double checking this because those attack boosts in either direction, or the decreases that the planets all seemingly have different versions of, those are important.
Yeah, the Pressure Planet Racehoth one is the most annoying, where it just makes everything stronger for every attribute. At least in my personal opinion. Paulo considering his options. He has 2 level 4s. He has a Garura. He has a Exceeds play. He has some Link plays he can do. He's going to leave that Garura face up on the field and overlay these 2 level 4 water monsters for Bahamut Shark. Let's see if this prompts anything from Steve inside the field. He still has that SP Little Knight that when he can chain to an effect that Paulo activates, but he's not going to want to use that here. Nothing really opportune for that.
He doesn't want Totally Awesome to hit the field, though.
Yeah, so he might. I mean, he definitely wants to do something to it, but that Field Knight won't be the way to stop it. It's going to have to be the face-down card, and it's left, right, A, B, enter the code. I'm going to tribute a monster and take control of your Bahamut Shark before you can detach your tails. Main deck.
Brand new, Ultimate Rare, too.
Ooh, I can't wait.
I know.
Main deck copy here from Steven.
I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, you definitely want to go to your local OTS in the upcoming weeks and get your hands on the new OTS tournament pack featuring those Ultimate Enemy Controllers.
Enemy Control is one of those cards that has come in and out of the meta over the course of, honestly, the last 20 years that it's been a playable card. And it's just amazing. Every time you see it, you stop and think, wow, that was amazing. Enemy Control is just one of those cards that is so unique in how it functions.
It really is. It's so much fun. I love it.
It's good going first to a degree because it can add some layer of defense. Obviously, going second, it's fantastic. Here, if you put all these interruptions up, Paulo has to play through so many different layers, from monster effects to potential hand effects, and now a spell and trap card like Enemy Controller that interrupted his play with Bahamut Shark.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're trying to break through an opponent's board and that last card in hand's like an Ash Blossom on top of everything you can already see, and you're like, oh man, it's tough to beat that last line of protection. And it looks like Paulo's going to go to the battle phase here and trying to attack the SP Little Knight with Garura.
Because it does extra damage.
Oh, but the Scream, I think, made the SP Little Knight lose some attack. So despite losing the 300 attack and defense from the planet, he's still going to be able to attack over that SP Little Knight.
Oh, this is already used in the gate.
Yeah, he's used Baron de Fleur. He's used Bestial Dispatter.
Okay.
He just doesn't... I don't know if he plays Stardust Dragon or not. I'm going to take a quick peek. Doesn't look like it. So, yeah, the Excel Synchro Stardust is just kind of sitting there for right now. So he's going to activate Tearlament Kashtira. This is huge here. I think this is still in the battle phase.
Paulo is hoping to see one of the cards that could potentially send 5 more from the top of his deck to the graveyard. You don't play Tearlaments if you're not playing to get lucky here or there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Which is so, yeah, Paulo, you think would be the one that really focuses on like consistency and not getting lucky, but he is here to win it and trying to do his best with the Tearlament strategy. But he does have a Forbidden Droplet set. You called it earlier. He's going to be able to use this to stop those 3 cards from being sent to the graveyard.
Main phase 2.
Oh, so it is main phase 2.
Oh, they thought you were doing Battlefield. Oh my god.
Okay, so he's going to send that Bahamut Shark that he took to negate the Tearlaments Kashtira.
Everything's not working.
Everything's not working, Paulo says. Yeah, many layers of interruption.
Going second against Mannadium is tough. It's tough, especially if you don't have any of those turn 0 interactions.
Steven was able to do this with 2 cards in his hand, Droplet and Enemy Controller, which obviously didn't contribute to his opening play. So that's really one of the main defining factors here is, Paulo may have been able to get through this field, but having both Enemy Controller and Forbidden Droplet has made it almost insurmountable, it seems.
Devastating, I agree. And he worked them together. The Enemy Controller, take your monster, Droplet, send your monster. Pretty cool to see in combination here. I'm definitely going to have to try out Enemy Controller in my Mannadium deck after this weekend. Going to go have to get some Ultimate Rares at my next OTS tournament.
Steven has some other interesting quick plays in his deck as well. I don't want to spoil them just because they're so unique.
Yeah, very unique. I played Mannadium for a long time, and I have not considered playing some of the cards that he plays, and it's pretty incredible. I hope we get to see it come into play here during this match.
I didn't use Merly, right?
Yeah, he's just verifying that he didn't use Merly, which would make sense because that's the one that he wants to maintain in case he is able to find access to Sprite Sprint.
Yeah, so if he can go into Dark here, and if Steven has a Dark monster in his graveyard, he might be able to get into Sprint to maybe go into something like Kaleido Heart.
To not do something really stupid.
And having Kaleido Heart Scream, not too bad. He'll also get a draw from that Garura. That is if Garura is Dark, but I'm pretty sure it's Dark.
Paulo is deep in the tank here trying to figure out what is the best way of navigating this.
Paulo does spend some time in the think tank every now and then. So he doesn't have to worry about the Light Heart. That's a once per duel effect. He does have to worry about a Vicious Astrolabe easily coming down. And Vicious Astrolabe is so good at follow-up because not only is it just a huge monster you get to summon for free pretty much, it can destroy an opponent's monster or any monster on the field and gain half the attack as well.
So here he's going to get a draw off Garura. And I wonder if this is a play where he's thinking to himself, what is the best card that I can draw because I need a card off the top of my deck to save me.
Then we trigger
So he's going to go into SP Little Knight.
to banish and to draw.
I mean, he has to banish the Dispatter, I think.
Banish this.
Yeah, Dispatter is 3,500 and has the ability to summon back from the banished, and it has pretty much a negate or a destruction effect. Get rid of that card for now.
What happened this game?
Hollow Head in hand, deep in thought. It's rough. If there's a deck that can overcome these odds, it's going to be Tearlaments.
One fusion, though. It's going to be tough, I think, with just one single fusion remaining. Because he needs to put another monster on the field to go and, sprint.
Really hard to know. I read this feels power.
Paul looking for answers. I don't know if he's going to find them.
Just 1 second.
It looks like Steven is looking. He's like, can I summon Vicious Astrolabe? Yeah, Samsara putting in work right here because normally you wouldn't be able to have any of this without Visa Starfrost. But found a way with the Samsara. It's actually it's hard to like tell when you look at Visa Samsara how important and how like solid of a card it is. but it really does pay dividends and just add some consistency to the deck. Steven's got no cards in hand, going to draw for a turn.
You think he's going to use Baron's effect in the standby phase? Seeing as how it's already negated.
He could bring back Mannadium Meek here potentially, and then he would have a level 10 Synchro he could go into right away with the Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon.
I'll go to main.
Nope, he's going to keep the Baron, values the destruction effect. Don't blame him. He could just go after the SP Little Knight right here and force it out right away. He could also try and get a defense monster, a defense mode monster on the field to use the planet. He points at his planet to kind of give away what he's thinking about.
Which is fair. I think
I'm sure
I've
Paulo
always
knows.
been someone that verbalizes at least some of my thoughts, particularly if I'm going to 100% do them.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And if that helps you, then you should do it. You know, sometimes players are reluctant to verbalize some of their thoughts because they're afraid they're giving away information. But if it means that you play faster and you're already going to do it, I don't think there's a lot of harm in doing that.
True. Very true. Now, so the Baron is going after SP Little Knight. Yeah, I think you have to chain the Little Knight here to banish the Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. You don't want to banish the Baron to floor because it'll come back and have that negate fresh and ready to go again. It's got to be the Excel.
Unless you're afraid that the Baron effect is going to allow you to destroy something like Meek.
True, true. It looks like he is going after Baron, but I don't know how he's getting back into this game with the Baron coming back. But maybe his focus isn't about getting back into this game, but more so surviving this turn so he still has an opportunity to get back into the game. Because so right now with Vicious Ashlott's 3,000, Excel is 2,500, I believe. That would be 5,500. Riem Hart, oh yeah, he's going to be able to do it here. Unless, well, Paulo does still have this one face down card and 2 cards in hand, so there could be some interruptions here, but Riem Hart's going to be able to add any Mannadium card. So you can either get Mannadium Obsidian. See, this is also another reason why, so I don't think Steven is main decking Mannadium Reframing, but I really like in this deck for the potential, not just the first turn, because it's it's a counter trap that can negate anything, but the graveyard effect. You can banish it to shuffle back those Mannadium monsters, so you can put the Meeks back into your deck to be recycled for the following turn, which is a huge advantage. But he is going to go for Mannadium Obsidian. Obsidian lets you destroy a monster you control and add a Peaceful Planet Calarium from your deck to your hand. If you already have the Peaceful Planet face up on the field, you can add any Mannadium spell and trap, and then while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it from your graveyard to special summon a Visa Starfrost from your hand. Won't be able to special summon Samsara because it's not a Visa Starfrost in hand, but it still gets Starfrost onto the field without having to destroy a monster that you control. So he's going to destroy his Riem Heart here and add Peaceful Planet.
Calarium.
He's probably going to search.
Could get up
The actual Visas itself.
Visa Starfrost is here.
I'll banish Obsidian.
It's such a good card. Mannadium Obsidian is going to be banished to spell summon Visa Starfrost. He's going to be able to go right back into the field spell if he wants.
You can continue, just look.
Special layer from graveyard.
Can't do that. I'm pretty sure it's once per duel, and he did it last turn.
It is once per duel.
Yep.
Let me check if I did last
You
turn.
do.
Yeah, they're just double checking
I
that.
used Lightheart last turn.
You did. You even summon here.
Yep, I did. I summoned it last turn. Thinking.
Hopefully Steven's calibrated for that.
Sorry? Oh, sorry.
The bottom.
All right, so he can link away the Visa Starfrost to go into just another copy of Lightheart. I think what he was trying to do was the fun play, where you bring back the Lightheart and link away Lightheart into Lightheart.
He actually plays a second copy of Reichphobia here, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You have to play 2 in this deck, because when you draw 1, you still want to be able to summon Lightheart and get it. It's definitely the one you want to play 2 of. You also usually play 2 Scareclaw Arrival as well, so you're able to get a full 2 waves of the combo here. And now the Reichphobia is going to get the Lightheart. Can he get a third monster in defense on the field to get that draw? I don't think he's going to be looking for that. He's looking to put his monsters in attack mode probably and finish the game. I mean, he could summon an Astral out in defense mode, spell summon the Reichheart, get a draw, get the Arrival, and then be able to go into a level 10 Synchro.
So 3,000.
But I think he's going to be looking to go forward instead of sideways.
Just verifying that he has enough in his extra deck. He did put that Astral back in there, so he definitely has plenty of access to those, and that seems what he's going to open up with here.
Oh, does he not have another copy of Reichheart yet? Oh, no, he's looking through his graveyard. He added the Reichheart already. Oh, he had Scareclaw cast to his hand, which is 2,600 attack. Vicious Astral is 3,000. That's 55, 75, 81, 86. This is enough, unless that one face-down spell or trap card will save Paulo. This is going to be over 8,000 damage in one attack. And it is over. Steven wins game 1 with Mannadium, really showing how impressive the deck can be, even without the copy of the counter trap like Mannadium reframing in the main deck, maybe showing he doesn't need it, you know, because some of the times when you were talking about drawing those cards that you want to add from your deck to your hand, like the Planet, Scareclaw Rival, well, reframing is another one of those cards, because you can search it with the level 8 synchro, the YCS Indianapolis. But now if it's not in your deck, you'll never have to open up with it when you're going second as well. So hedging his bets here, trying to play a little more conservatively, knowing that just a simple board is usually enough. But we'll play into more cards like Lava Golem or Super Polymerization. Lava Golem, not as popular. Super Poly been decently popular this weekend. But Joe, tell me about Paulo's chances now going into game 2. You think he's going to go first this time?
I definitely think he's going to go first. One of the points I just wanted to make, because I think it's an interesting one, is Steven's electing to play specifically Mannadium Imagining, which is not a card that we've seen in a lot of Mannadium decks. But as you were commenting on, piggybacking off that point about wanting to search certain cards like Scareclaw Arrival and Bright Phobia, I wonder if he's excited to incorporate that card, because you can actually shuffle any card in your hand back into the deck. It doesn't need to be the card that you reveal. So I'm really curious if he elected to put that card in his deck in order to make it so that those Bright Phobias are always in the deck to search, and Scareclaw Arrival is always in the deck to search. So it's not a card that we've seen in every Mannadium deck this weekend.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I kind of overlooked that card. It's a card I don't play in my Mannadium deck, but I see it around every now and then. But you bring up that really good point. Being able to fix your hands is huge. And also the graveyard effect, we're able to banish it and turn one of your heart monsters into a tuner, can really come up if you just happen to have like Scareclaw Right Heart and Mannadium Riem Heart on the field. Not so much anymore, because now you have Visa Samsara, which is a level 4 tuner that'll help you access those level 8 synchros, but it's still a really cool card. And yeah, noticing that you can put back any card in your hand is really, really cool and advantageous, because you can also, if you just happen to draw 2 copies of a card that you can't use, like double copies of Triple Tactics Talent or something like that, just put the other one back and you're good to go.
Particularly if it's a card that you can search out of your deck through the Mannadium engine in and of itself. It's not a card that you just actually have to draw. It's a card that you can always search out when necessary. And if your hand is one of those hands where it has a Reichphobia, but you already plan on searching a Reichphobia, it allows you to not only search a card out of your deck that fixes your hand, but potentially drawing 2 new cards. You can have a whole different line of play. So I really like that single copy after watching these Mannadium decks, because we actually saw Hani in the previous round when we featured Mannadium struggle by opening up Reichphobia and Arrival. And it really limited his number of plays, because 2 cards in his hand were already cards that were going to naturally reach his hand during his combo.
Yeah, and the enemy controller that we were using was a gold rare. Yeah, the ultimate rare isn't out yet. It comes out in a couple of weeks or another week. That's why I said check out your OTS upcoming locals if you want to get that ultimate rare enemy controller. It's in the next OTS pack. It was on our fact sheet that we put up on our website. It's always really good if you want to learn about upcoming products and the information that cards that are coming. You can go to yugioh-card.com, right? Click on our products. We always have stuff that's upcoming and featuring cards on our this OTS pack. The card that we featured and talked about and let everyone know was in the pack is Enemy Controller. Left, right, A, B, enter the code. You're going to be able to do it in style now. With the newest OTS pack that's coming to a local OTS near you. So if you play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're like, well, where can I go to play in person? Just go to that same website, go to events, find the OTS area, and you can find stores near you that are they're official tournament stores. And when you play in those tournaments, you're going to get an OTS pack every time you enter a tournament. And if you do well in your tournaments, maybe you'll get some more OTS packs and get to pull Ultimate Rares. It's actually the home of Ultimate Rares. And there's usually 3 different ones. And then the one that's coming up in the newest OTS pack, Enemy Controller. Not out yet. So the one you saw wasn't Ultimate Rare, yeah, but it is Gold Rare. But that being aside, the biggest thing for Steven here is that he won game number 1. But I guess we'll go ahead and talk about the prize list here. First place is an Ultra Rare Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series prize card, Another Verse Glutonia. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series trophy, which we see features that Another Verse Glutonia. We have the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Premium Messenger Bag. Nintendo Switch, pretty cool. An invite to the VIP status of the next World Championship Qualifier Tournament. That means you're going to get 2 buys at the World's Qualifying Tournament. That's huge. And then you also get that Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series Top Cut game mat featuring Another Verse Glutonia. And you were talking about that trophy. There it is, Joe.
It looks beautiful. The card etching is something that's different from other trophies over the course of these YCSs. So having that unique Glutonia etched into it signifies that you won it during this particular season. Obviously something that everybody here wants to take home. And these players in the top 8 right now can actually start to sense, I'm getting a little bit closer. I showed up this weekend with a hope. I showed up to this weekend confident in my deck. But those players that are still playing right now this deep into Sunday, their deck has performed well, and they can actually start to imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when it gets down to the top 8, that's when you get the nerves start to go away, and you're getting focused. You're in the zone. You're like, all right, only a few more rounds. I'm just moments away. You can't get too excited just yet. You know, don't want to count the chickens before they hatch, the eggs. I don't know, whatever the phrase is. You don't want to get too excited before you haven't got across that finish line. Even if you win game number 1 in top 8, you still have one more game to win. You're probably going second in the next game, but you do have that advantage of going first in game number 3, which is huge for Mannadium, because yeah, going second, I think you saw it with Hani, you know, and it's a Mannadium deck. It's tough. It's tough going second, even with cards like a Hero Lives, which is one of the first things I tried out in Mannadium to try and extend past your normal summon. Because a lot of times you're just so dependent on sticking a monster on the field, because you need to at least get access to Mannadium Obsidian. You have to stick a Heart monster on the field so you can special summon that Mannadium Meek, or just a way to get Visa Starfrost. I mean, the biggest thing is Obsidian, right? Because Obsidian destroying a monster puts the Obsidian in your graveyard. You're guaranteed to get Peaceful Planet Calarium, which means you're going to be able to give Visa Starfrost. If you can banish the Obsidian, summon the Starfrost, link it away into a Lightheart, you really get, you know, the whole thing going. At least a minimum, a level 10 Synchro, because Lightheart into Reichheart, right? Special summon the Reichheart, you're able to add Scareclaw Arrival. Scareclaw Arrival, bring back Visa Starfrost. Synchro for 10, Chaos Angel, Baron to Floor. The cool thing about Chaos Angel, light and dark, it works perfectly. Except if you're using Visa Starfrost and Riemhart, you want to use Visa Starfrost and Reichheart. So you get the light and dark. It's going to protect your other Synchro monsters you summon later on in the turn. But you also get to put Visa Starfrost and a Heart monster in the graveyard. So you're going to have Vicious Astrolabe. If you stick another monster, you're going to have Cross Sheep. But let's go ahead and talk about the 25th Anniversary Rarity Collection Release Celebration Game Match. It features Eldritch the Golden Lord and this cool alternate art rarity. The Rarity Collection is huge. It's going to be one of the coolest sets of all time. Every card in the set comes in 7 different rarities. Every card in the set. It means you can get it in super rare. Every pack's going to come with 2 supers, 2 ultras, and a secret rare. 5 cards per pack. And each one of those slots can be upgraded to these luxury rares. We have 2 new rarities debuting in this set. Only going to be available in this set. It's going to be a new prismatic style Ultimate Rare and a new Prismatic Style Collector Rare that you've only seen in Asia so far, but we're bringing it over here for your new cards. You definitely want to check out the Rarity Collection. Tell me about the Age of Overlord Regional, Matt, Joe.
So if you go and play in a regional this weekend or for the foreseeable future, you'll have an opportunity to earn a Dark Hole Dragon Regional Season Game Mat. These Regional Season Game Mats are all based on their most recent set, so the Age of Overlord card is none other than Dark Hole Dragon, a card that is a callback to a legendary and iconic card in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, Dark Hole.
It really is, yeah. And he's coming. You can kind of see the Dark Hole there at the bottom. It's covered up there by the logo just a little bit, but the Dark Hole Dragon is emerging from the Dark Hole. It's one of the coolest looking Yu-Gi-Oh cards of time.
Dark Hole was actually an integral part of the North American Championship qualifier Kashtira deck that won this year, as a matter of fact. So it's a card that is legendary, a card that is a long-standing card, but a card that actually still sees meta-relevant play.
Oh, and here's something that I'm really excited about. That's right, it's the Structure Deck Fire Kings Release Celebration Game Mat. I'm not only excited about this beautiful game mat, but I'm excited about the Structure Deck itself. I'm a huge Fire King fan. Onslaught of the Fire Kings, Circle of the Fire Kings, some of my favorite cards. Garunix still around. You're going to want to get your hands on this Structure Deck. It has great re-releases of cards too that you're going to want to get your hands on, and some brand new cards that are going to be pretty much meta right out of the box, at least in my opinion. I'm definitely going to take them for a spin at my local OTS.
They're definitely going to be competing with a lot of other fire-based strategies right now.
Yeah, it is kind of like the year of fire. We've seen a lot. Fire for so many years just didn't get too much support, and little things, little here and there, but it's been rampant. We have legendary Duelist Soul Burning Volcano coming out. That already came out. The Structure Deck coming out. We just had the Structure Deck, the Crimson King, featuring Red Dragon Archfiend and other cards like that. So those are kind of fire-adjacent cards as well.
Rescue Ace, can't forget about Rescue Ace.
Rescue Ace as well. But I think we're going to put up a how to play video right now, so go ahead and check that out, and we'll be right back.
Pendulum monster cards are special monster cards that can also be used as spell cards. When you use one as a spell card, it has the effects written in its extra upper text box instead of the monster effects in its regular text box. To activate a Pendulum monster card from your hand as a spell card during your main phase, place it face up in your leftmost or rightmost spell and trap card zone. It stays there until a card's effect removes it, and that zone becomes a Pendulum zone, in addition to being a spell and trap zone while that card is in it. Pendulum monster cards on the field can't go to the graveyard, even when they're destroyed. Instead, they're placed face up on top of your extra deck and become a part of it. From there, they can swing back into action along with any number of monsters from your hand thanks to pendulum summoning, an extremely powerful method of special summoning that you can only attempt once per turn. To pendulum summon, you need to activate a pendulum monster card as a spell in both of your pendulum zones. Then, make note of their pendulum scales, which are the numbers on the sides.
You already know how to pendulum summon. You still take something away from that how to play video. But finally, we're jumping right back into it in top 8. So we saw Steven win game number 1, and now we're in game number 2.
And if you're looking at Paulo's side deck, he actually is side decking Diviner of the Herald. So it looks like he is incorporating that card into his strategy, but only when he goes first.
That's it. That's fine.
So it's going to start with Danger Nessie, and it looks like he hit the Nessie.
Wow.
Not the ideal start, but he's going to be able to grab another Danger monster.
Yeah, I have a second chance. Right?
Yeah, Paulo's saying, well, I have a second chance. So now he gets to at least search out the copy of Danger Mothman.
You definitely don't want to hit the Mothman here. It has like that Dark World Dealings-like effect. I do think it's cool that Danger Monster's being incorporated into Tearlaments again.
Effect.
That was always fun. No Curious to go into anymore, though.
Yeah, it's interesting how many different competing strategies can be incorporated into tier elements, yet nevertheless Dangers, which were there from day one, are still finding their way into these strategies. That was much better. He had a Sulliak.
Sulliak is huge here. Mothman's going to net him a draw. The Sulliak's going to let him add a tier limit monster from his deck to his hand. Now let's see. It looks like you can add tier limit Sharon here.
Paulo's contemplating his next turn. I wonder if it's going to start. Yeah, so he has a copy of Tier Elements Scream. Obviously, combining Scream and Sharon is a huge interaction that he was cut off from in the first game.
Yeah, and I want to re-emphasize about this enemy controller. It seems like there's been a misunderstanding, chat. We never said that was an ultimate rare enemy controller. It was a gold rare enemy controller. We were looking forward to the next OTS pack that will feature an ultimate rare enemy controller. It is not an ultimate rare enemy controller in Steven's deck. It is a gold rare. We knew it, so I hope you at home also were able to tell. Listen carefully, read your cards. It's not hard. Sharon is going to send 3 cards and then another 3 cards from Scream. The first 3 weren't good, but the next ones were. Kelbeck and Yugioh were going to go for a ride.
Okay.
Paulo seems amused.
This is huge too, because if he's able to get some of the Meeks out of the deck from Steven, he'll be able to shuffle them back. He won't be able to shuffle them back if he didn't keep reframing in his deck. So it could be huge here to cut him off.
Oh, look at those 2 copies of Diviner, which is actually convenient in the sense that now that the fairies that you would want to send from the top of the deck to the graveyard, or from the deck to the graveyard, are gone.
Okay, sent the second Malicious. Oh, since Trivic Karma.
Let me see what happened.
Oh, there's Meek. Okay, but
Wow.
you do get to put Visa Starfrost in the graveyard with the Heart Stat monsters, so he's going to have Vicious Astrolauds online right away.
So what I have here, I have
Paulo's, I wonder if Paulo's looking at this and saying, wow, I think I'd rather go back those 10
So I
mils.
will trigger the Heaviness. Can I trigger the Heaviness? You thinking?
Oh, no, you're good.
You don't have hand trap, right? You play like
Oh,
that.
no.
Paulo says, you don't have a hand trap. Of course I can activate my effects.
Yeah, I'm using Heaviness. Just assessing the situation.
So it looks like he's going to use Nessie in the Haviness that was milled from those 10 cards.
Where is it?
Probably means he's going into, is that Dangerous?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is,
Dangerous coming down.
Yeah, because some went back to back, right?
Yeah, they're just verifying. Paulo has outlaid his graveyard in such a way where all of the cards are visible, and they're just confirming that there was in fact 10 cards sent off of both Yugioh and Kelbeck. Looks like Paulo's contemplating using the copy of Dangerous He does have Denier in his deck. Of course, there is a Malicious already in the graveyard.
Yeah, the judges need to put the graveyard together. You're not supposed to have your graveyard spread out like this. It makes it impossible for us to see what is actually in the graveyard. You're not allowed to play like this. So if you're at home and wondering if you can do this, you absolutely cannot.
I mean, you can do it for a moment when you look at it,
Not
but
like
certainly
this,
not just sitting there as the game, because you don't even know if that terraforming and such are in the banished zone, which is usually where that spot on the field is meant. So Paulo's just seeing how many of the heart attack defense monsters are in Steven's graveyard, just to see how many vicious Astrolabs get hit the field next turn.
Can I continue?
Is that the real time, or is it plus 60? So it's 27?
So now we see Destiny Hero Malicious being banished, and he has a level 6 on the field with that Destiny Hero Dangerous. And he is using Beatrice Lady of the Eternal.
Yep, Malicious, Dangerous. We've seen this combination in cards.
In this particular strategy, for sure.
Yep. And I don't know the card.
So now he's overlaying his Malicious and Dangerous. Now really, since this deck, Tearlaments, first hit the scene, Beatrice has slotted in so well as a card on your turn that you get to activate to establish a field, but then also act as an interruption on the opponent's turn. It's also interesting to see the ways in which players have incorporated level 6 monsters, which aren't necessarily the most natural level for Tearlaments to play with, which is why we see cards like Destiny Hero Malicious and that package incorporated into these strategies. Beatrice is just that strong. And earlier in the 10 cards that were sent from the top of his deck to the graveyard, one of those was Strip Karma. It's going to allow him to search his deck for any card that lists Visas Starfrost. Usually you search Primeval Planet, though Scream is also an option, plus the trap cards are options as well. So the beauty of that card in this particular strategy is you actually have several options. A lot of people, because Paralino is the card that most commonly is searched out, assume that they can only search out the field spell. But if you already have the field spell, you actually have a wealth of other options in your deck.
Definitely, and now it looks like he's still considering his options here.
Which one did you use so
It's been a long turn.
I used I use Harvest.
Yeah, so they're just verifying which of the 3 Tearlaments that have the ability to fuse have been activated this turn. And the fact that it is Havnus is a big deal because Sprint so easily puts Merly into the graveyard, as we've seen over the course of the last 6 or so months. The Tearlaments have been able to incorporate that card.
Yep. Finally activates the Beatrice effect after thinking for 2 minutes. Now he's going to send down Shadal Peace to draw a card after heavy considerations.
What's actually interesting is when you look at Paulo's deck is it doesn't incorporate Winda. This is just truly a value Shadal Beast.
Yeah, I mean, the way the Tearlaments are played nowadays is a lot about making sure you have good cards to hit off the top of your deck when you send them to the graveyard. And Shadal Beast, not a bad one, getting that additional draw. And it's also just a dark monster you can make Mud Dragon with as well.
Which means Paulo's not playing Skamata and sort of the larger Shadal package that you do sometimes see in these Tearlament strategies. So now with 3 cards in hand, Paulo needs to again verify the 10 cards that Steven sent from the top of his deck to the graveyard through the effect of Yugioh and Kelbeck. And through all of this, he had yet to use his normal summon, so now he's able to summon Tearlament's Rhinoheart.
I mean, all of this isn't that much. It's taken a long time, but he's only used Sharon, summoned 1 fusion, overlaid for Beatrice, summoned Mothman, and like it's only been a few plays, but it's been like 5 or 6 minutes. But the Rhinoheart is going to send Merrily from the deck to the graveyard.
I think you underestimate what hitting both Yugioh and Kelbeck
it was
do.
a lot. It was a lot.
It complicates everything.
He did send 10 cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard. It does make it a little harder to make your decisions. But he's going to put back those 2 monsters to summon.
Looks a copy of Mud Dragon. Now the Mud Dragon and the Rhinoheart allow him to go into a copy of presumably Bahamut Shark.
Into
Yep.
position.
It's been too many. He's playing very slow. He needs to pick up the pace or receive a slow play warning. This has been an entirely too long of a turn. He doesn't go to the Bahamut Shark, and now he's going to overlay for another rank 4.
Redoer? Oh, no, the Abyss Dweller. So he values Abyss Dweller in this matchup.
Takes the time to make sure his materials are nice and neat underneath. Going to check the graveyard real fast. Now he's going to use Bahamut Shark's effect, attaching Rhino Heart to special summon.
Totally awesome.
Yeah, Paulo needs to pick up the pace of play. Then he's going to go ahead and summon back the Destiny Hero Denier.
Put one banishment.
Do you need to have a Destiny on field, or was this in grave?
Grave or field?
Grave or field, okay.
Yeah, you can just bring it back once.
I take one Destiny Hero monster from the grave. Okay, that's it.
Yep, you're good.
And then I trigger, put it back.
Yeah.
Just to put the Malicious back, so he's going to have another Malicious to be able to summon.
Yeah, Destiny Hero Denier sort of alleviates the issue of the fact that Destiny Hero Malicious is semi-limited on the Forbidden and Limited list.
What effect was used?
Denier.
Denier? It goes on. Doesn't the monster go on top?
Oh sure, I'm gonna shuffle the deck after.
Yeah.
It's on top, but I'm gonna shuffle the deck. That's true.
One of you guys.
But I'm gonna shuffle the deck right now.
Because of
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
For future reference, I mean.
Yeah, they're just verifying that the card with Denier does go on top of the deck. Because you so often just banish Malicious from the graveyard to summon the one that was put on top of the deck from the banished pile.
Sorry.
It's one of those interactions that don't really feel like it typically will come up and matter, because it's not like you're using Denier and then passing the turn. So sometimes those intricate parts and those small little parts of the effect, they shouldn't be overlooked. We should be playing flawlessly every single time. But it is something that when we're playing like this and not shuffling the deck between every search, that it can sometimes come up where you don't realize that.
There will be 2 tournaments, and each of them will be participating for a super rare copy of the current prize card.
Going to
So
shuffle back those 3 monsters, I'm guessing. I'm not sure what Paulo's doing right now.
Yeah, he is doing that. He does have a...
He has a Medora or Keldo in his graveyard.
Yeah, he does have a copy of, I believe, Keldo in his
I
graveyard.
assumed if he sent 10 cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard, he'd have one of them at this point. But now he's just holding the cards hostage on his side of the field as he leaks summons for... I don't know what's happening right now. He's like, I'm going to borrow these cards while I leak summon my SP. Little Knight, still thinking. This turn has been 10 minutes, but it wasn't because of the cards he sent from the deck of the graveyard. This has been entirely too long, man. I don't know what else to say at this point.
Steven's been a good sport. His opponent has 3 of his cards on the field. Is in the middle of conducting a link summon.
I mean, it's not a good day to be a Visa Starfrust or Rebenheart. You're just going to be holding him hostage, but it does look like we're going to have a quick pause right here. Maybe that's why he's holding him. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I'm going to talk about what I like about this format right now. Age of Overlord really shook things up. It's really been an exciting tournament. We've seen a variety of decks that made it. I think the big winner of the weekend, which a lot of people were kind of, I think a couple weeks ago, everyone was like, oh, your Rescue Ace is going to be so good. I can't wait to see Rescue Ace. But now that the time finally came, I think a lot of players might have overlooked it. But the ones who didn't did well this weekend. It was one of the most represented decks in Top Cut. And it's about how consistent it is. You're always going to open up with a way to play usually, except for round 1 when we featured it right off the bat. And it was 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity, 1 hand with a Pot of Prosperity that still didn't get there. It was rough that round, but most of the time it's an extremely consistent deck, thanks to the Diabell Star, the Black Witch, and you just SP Little Knight just being fantastic in all the decks.
The deck has really shifted. So we saw about a month ago at this point, Max Reynolds bring it all the way to 2nd place at YCS in a strategy that was revolving around summoning Ibli. It had a very different inherent strategy. Now all of a sudden you go a month later, you have Age of Overlord out, the deck has completely shifted into an entirely controlled deck, cut the Ibli, and is now focusing on covering these simple spoil cards.
Okay, it does sound like there was a slow play warning that was upgraded for this game, unfortunately for Paulo, so he is going to lose the match since he lost the first game. Yeah, you have to play at a steady pace. Unfortunately, that turn was just entirely too long, and it looks like Steven is going to end up being the winner here. Not being able to see how that game plays out, but he was going to still go first in game number 3, so it probably wouldn't have been great, but yet you have to play at a reasonable pace, and that was just, yeah, it just wasn't it there for Paulo, unfortunately. So Steven's going to be moving on to top 8.
I mean, Steven has so many cards in his side deck that are designed to
Or
go
top
second.
4. Sorry,
He has so many
top 8.
cards designed in his side deck to go second between Thrust and Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched. Who's to say that he didn't actually have those cards in his hand, and even though the board that Paulo was establishing was going to be fairly reasonable, that Steven wouldn't have been able to play through it anyway.
That's right. But it was nice to see the match. We got to see Mannadium put on a show in game number 1. But we're going to have our top 4 match next, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for this top 4 of the YCS Indy.